Hey everybody, this is the Cryptolorian, and I am here today with artist Reinhard Schmidt. He is a professional artist with over more than 30 years experience. His fantastic surreal images are based on general concepts which he calls Venus machine. The combination of the sensuous female energy with more technical male aspects often depict in some kind of machinery, and his whimsical, complex, and mostly with the humorous or erotic touch. He regularly uses his traditional paintings as a base for his digital art. And I got to say, Reinhard, you are one of my favorite artists. And
Thank you.
you are that's my awkward introduction, as I usually do. But I think that your designs and the intricate detail that you put into all of your work is always so stunning and so much fun. Reinhard, welcome to our show. This is Art Well, and tell us about yourself. Tell the people who don't know about you who you are.
Thank you for your kind welcome, and hello everyone. Well, as you already said, I'm a professional artist for over 30 years, and I started to work with computers like 25 years ago, and tried different aspects of digital art, and then in 2017, I think, I came across that network that was Steemit at the time, and that's where I learned a lot about crypto art, and all of these things. And in 2018, I was invited by one of the very first platforms that set out to create and sell NFTs, art NFTs. It was Rare Art Labs. They're no longer in business, I think.
Oh, wow.
And that's where I first got in touch with it all. And soon after that, I found out about Maker's Place, and I was one of the very first artists there. I actually bought the very first piece minted there.
Oh, really?
It was like just a few dollars. Yeah, back then we were just thrilled that it even worked, So yeah, that's how it all started. But
wow.
I'm also still very much in love with physical art. I paint, and I have two major techniques. I create glass paintings. I draw with a pencil on the back side of glass. That's the one thing. And I also do oil paintings, mostly larger size oil paintings, like the one you can see behind me.
Wow, that is so. You really are, when people talk about the OG crypto artists, you really are the OG. Like you started with platform Steemit, like you said. You bought one of the first pieces on Maker's Place. I mean, this is you're pretty much a legend at this
point. Wouldn't that be nice?
Now, I mean, honestly, and you are one of the artists that are in the Well Vault. I mean, we do have, Well Shark has collected quite a number of your pieces.
Yes,
rightfully so.
Very privileged, yeah.
I mean, we're very privileged to have your pieces there, because each one of them, again, I mean, I talked a little bit about when I was reading off this intro, but you really do have this attention to detail, and this amazing artistic just experience that you put into every piece, and it's very, very unique, and very whimsical is a really good word for it, and that's what I always find really cool about your work. So again, we're so happy to have you on here, and get to share. I want to use this experience and this time to really catch up, because I feel like we haven't talked in several months, which seems
Yeah, it's
like
been
years.
a while. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna put some. I'm gonna share my screen here and put up your work. But I want to give people watching an idea of like your world.
Yeah.
What is Reinhard's world, and I love it, this picture because it kind of shows like the world you're in. So yeah, tell us about what we're seeing here.
I normally don't take a lot of pictures of my workspace, but the one you're seeing here, there was a TV team was here to do a report on my work, and also the combination of my physical art and my NFT art. And that's why I have this photo when they were there. So that's actually what I call my summer studio. And in winter, I work in a much smaller place because I'm concerned about resources and energy, and I think it's kind of a waste to heat that big space over there. And so right now I'm in my much smaller winter studio. So, but yeah, that's that. So, like I said, I started out with traditional art, and so just two corner points maybe. Like most people who know me should know my Smack Man. I call him the Smack Man.
Absolutely.
This little guy here. And what you're seeing here is one of the very first digital artworks I made, and I took him from another painting and put him in there. So it's probably not just my iconic figure for this NFT space, but it's really an icon in my work, So, and just to show like what would one call it? A practical application of my work. This is in a fancy hotel nearby, their sauna.
Wow, this sauna looks so. I mean, I would love to be there.
And and that's one of my artworks. It's printed on glass and put there. It's like 15 feet wide. That's pretty big.
Wow. And so the Smack Band that you're using.
Yes.
Now tell us about how you created that, because you said there was a physical, right?
A very, very long time ago, I made a glass painting. Unfortunately, I don't have a photo of that original glass painting, but I took it from there and I like put it into this different context in this digital piece here. The glass original just has the surroundings here are different. The figure and this part is similar.
Gotcha. That's so cool. Maybe you could talk a little bit about your glass paintings, because those.
Okay. A lot of people, when I say I draw on glass with a pencil, or I work on the reverse side of glass, it's very hard to imagine what this means. And here you can see a piece that I'm working on, and you can see the glass, and the drawing is already there, and I'm adding some oil paint at this point. And this is another one.
Wow.
I use an airbrush to put this layer of very light blue on it, and then you can see that certain areas, the highlights are erased, and then the drawing is applied. And
wow.
then you add the color, more color, and then I draw from the one side, and then you turn it around, and that's how the finished piece looks like.
Wow, that is unbelievable.
So you can still see the drawing, and it was a long way for me, because traditional reverse glass painting is super flat, because you don't even see a brush stroke because you see it through the glass. So it cannot get more even. And to me, it has always been too flat. And with the use of pencil, you can regain a kind of transparency. I mean, you probably recognize this moth. He appears in a lot of my painting. It's like
Absolutely.
another alter ego. And so this is, again, the drawing on glass. And then here you can see the finished painting from the backside. As I'd already put in the frame, I'm also building my own frames for these glass paintings. And then when you turn it around, this is what it looks like.
Oh man, that is so cool.
And it's plum wood. It was an old bed, and I cut out all the pieces and built the frame from that wood. And when you don't like the painting anymore, you just close the doors, you know.
Wow.
And again, same thing, you know, same procedure. This is called First Ascent. It was for a themed exhibition. The theme was mountain, and just painting a mountain I found too boring, so I developed this composition. And the show was in France, in the Auvergne. There are a lot of volcanoes, so this whole thing comes out of this volcano. So again, the colors are added, and that's the finished piece.
Ah, that's so unbelievable.
And this is a very recent piece. I'm actually planning to do an NFT with this sometime soon. It's called Hallelujah Machine. You can see, if you look closely, you can see the bubbles coming out of her mouth. So meaning it's not really of much meaning what this machine says, you know, the machine in a human shape, but it's still, as you can see here, it's a little machine. And this is also a frame I built from pieces I found in an antique store. You know, this bottom piece. Normally it would be upside down, but this whole painting is about things being upside down, so the frame had to be too. So yeah, and just to show you a little bit more about these frames, you know, this is the Whore Babylon, and I made it like really extravagant and, you know, lush even with the frame. Or here it's about how our ideas are controlled, how our thoughts. I mean, the name of the painting is Thoughts Are Free, and you know, we all want to believe thoughts are free, but are they really? You know, we're in this little narrow space here. The frame is really oversized, and it's limiting the space for our thinking. And like this little butterfly is supposed to be a thought, you know, it wants to fly free, but there are so many things around us and so much manipulation and advertising, whatever, that there is not really much space for the idea, for the thought. This is another one that I made an NFT of. I was very happy when a lot of money bought it, the NFT, not the original. And here are more current pieces. The frame is very plain. It's oak and aluminum, and I only kept the actual painting in a space like in the middle there. You can look through the glass, because people often think, well, you say it's on glass, but is it really, you know? And here you can actually see, I mean, you could theoretically turn it around and see that it's really all on the glass.
Wow.
Same here, you can look through this space here, you see the wall. And similar idea here, but on the outside it's aluminum. And this is a very interesting piece because it illustrates one advantage of NFTs. Maybe I show you this. Okay. Here you can see where the painting is now.
Mm-hmm.
Most of you know I'm German and I live in Germany. I did have a space in I had a place in Chicago for about 10 years, but now I live back in Germany and very happy here. And this painting is now with someone in Puerto Rico. Now, had it been an NFT, it would have been a few clicks, pay some gas fee, whoops, it's there. And with this one, it was quite a challenge, particularly in these days of the pandemic. The person who bought it asked me I think it was in February, they wanted a glass painting, and I only had like 3 to choose from, and it was in a gallery in the Netherlands, which is about some 600-700 miles from here. And the numbers were so high, one couldn't travel, so I couldn't pick up the painting. And they said, well, we need to wait until I can have it brought here. I didn't want to have it packed and shipped by someone who may not know what they're doing. I was concerned about it breaking, because if you break the glass, the painting is broken. So we waited until April, and then my agent from Belgium said, okay, I have an artist in Kassel, which is about halfway, and I have a client there. So we said, okay, we'll meet there. And so he brought me the painting. So I had it here. Then you need to have a special box made from a certified wood, so it can be exported into the US.
Oh, wow.
So I had shipped 2 large oil paintings last year, but the company who made those boxes then no longer did those. So I had to find someone else. And that took a couple of weeks. I finally had the case, the box, and then I wanted to ship it with the same company I had last year. And they said, well, we don't have any flights to go to the Caribbean because of the pandemic. All the airplanes are grounded and whatever. So I had to find someone to ship it. So, long story short, it took until late September until it finally arrived. So you see, it's like 7 months versus, 7 seconds for the artwork to be with the person that purchased it.
Wow. Yeah, that's a huge advantage of NFTs.
Absolutely. And but I mean, each world has its advantages, and like I told you earlier, most of my clients are very concerned about their privacy, and these friends here in Puerto Rico, they are very open, and they gave me permission to share these photos. And I always wanted to create non-abstract work that looks good in a modern space. And here you can see, these more or less figurative pieces in a very contemporary environment. So, yeah. That's another one. The husband commissioned me to make a painting of his wife, and we kicked a few ideas around, and then it kind of hit me that why not do her as the Venus, and they liked the idea, so I painted her as like in the same pose as Botticelli had his Venus. Of course, I added my machine parts and all of these things, and there is some numerology and some hidden messages in there. So that's the other piece I own. That's when they just got it. Here you can see the one I just showed you. It's still packed, and that's the owner, Cindy. So you can see how big it is.
Oh, unbelievable! This I love you sharing this. We're having a ton of questions coming from the community.
Okay.
We do have a little bit of a echo happening, but it's manageable. But one thing I want to say, I'm in complete awe of your work and craftsmanship.
Thank you.
How do you conceptualize a piece, from start to finish? Because, like you said, you create frames A lot of these pieces you're using in your NFT or crypto art. I mean, how do you start? How do you come up with these stories and this development?
Okay, I just pulled this one up because I think it's a good piece to answer your question. One thing is I like to work on commission, and then you develop the idea together with the person that commissions you. They have some thoughts, but mostly very vague, and they give me a lot of freedom to do this. And another thing, I do these large oil paintings. They were all created for themed shows. I'm a member of international artist group. It's called Libellule. They're based in, their office is in Hong Kong, but most of it is arranged from within France. And once a year, there is a major exhibition. It's called Art en Capitale, the art at the capital in Paris, at the Grand Palais. It's a phenomenal building from the late 19th century. It's like 35 meters high in the middle, all steel and glass. And this whole show is split in four, what they call salons, four sub-shows, so to speak. And one is the Salon Comparaison, which is the hardest to get into, and our group is in that salon. And once a year, the head of the group, French artist Lucas Stendel, gives a theme. And in this case, the theme was the $1 million piece. And he gave a size. It was supposed to be like 3 feet high and close to 8 feet wide. And in the top right corner, we had to write $1 million. The rest was completely free. So when I get a theme, I usually have to think about it for quite some time, and then I see something and it hits me, and I have the idea, and I didn't prepare it, but in this case, I just scribbled it on a tiny piece of paper while I was sitting at the cafe, just so I wouldn't forget the idea. And then, when you start working on it, you think about all the details you want to put in, and then, for instance, all this machinery I design in Illustrator where I can move things around, and then I had this figure. This is actually was a young woman from Moldavia. I met her on DeviantArt. It was a very early social network with just art. It still exists, but I don't know if a lot of people know about it. So I saw her there, and I thought she'd fit perfectly for that painting. And I asked her, do you want to model for it? And it was obviously very difficult because she couldn't travel here. I wouldn't go there. It's too far away. So she kept sending photos, and I said, well, now pose this way, now pose this way. So she sent, I don't know how many hundreds of photos until we got it right. And then I put it all together, and that's how this painting developed. It's called Revelation. And it's no longer a secret that I like these like not really human figures. It's just a doll, and we see a pretty face, so she's like catching our eye, but what's happening over here is this sort of a paper that had this all hidden is being pulled away, and on the other side it's that's also about this theme I talked earlier, about manipulation, and that's sometimes my go sign, but it's also a symbol for people getting hypnotized and deceived.
Wow.
So yeah, does that answer your question?
Yes, absolutely. And I must say, you're such a talented artist. I mean, your mediums. I mean, you bridge the digital and the physical so well. I mean, it's just. I mean, it's hard. It's really hard to fathom. You have so much talent.
Thank you.
It's so crazy. I hate to be.
I always struggle, you know. I'm like, why
Man,
am I not better?
no, you're amazing, and I hate to be that fanboy guy, but I mean, honestly, you really do. You're talking about using Illustrator. You animate your items. You're painting on glass. I mean, you're doing all these different media. You're making your own frames. I mean, you are such a well-rounded artist. It's so cool to listen to, the backstories of your art, and
Thank
also
you.
also see them. I mean, it's just really neat. Yeah.
I just thought this might be another one where when you said, how do I come up with my ideas? It was also for a theme show, and the theme was dragon. So I didn't want to just paint the dragon, I mean, we've all seen those in all shapes and sizes. So I wanted to do something different. And so I thought, well, what is it that makes a dragon, at least here in our Western world? It flies and spits fire. So I created this monstrous machinery here, that can fly and sort of spit fire through this sort of a jet engine here. And it's also a bit steampunkish, as you can see here. And there's this Amazon warrior flying the steel dragon.
That's so cool, and the models you use are so unique too.
Well, that's my wife. I'll tell her.
I love it. I love it. That's so fantastic. Now, go ahead, and then we'll transition over to your new piece.
Just two more.
Sure.
This one is going. It looks like there is some story coming up. I don't know yet, but I see something being announced about this one. And also, you were talking about artworks in the vault, and this was one of the earliest pieces Whale Shark bought. Well, not this one. This is the physical piece, and it's still work in progress. It's not finished at this point. But I made the dragonfish, which was, like I said, one of the very first pieces he bought. It's this one here. Oops. Sorry, I hope I didn't scare anyone.
Oh, no, you can play the sound if you want.
Okay. So you want to see it?
Sure.
So, I mean, you can see that there are certain things that appear more or less frequently in my work. I don't know what it's called in English, this iris, this opening thing. I just love that mechanism, and I've been using it several times in my NFTs.
Yeah, and it really. I'm trying to think of the right word, but I guess
aperture.
Yeah.
In a camera, you have that when you take a photo in the old days. It had to open so the light hits the film, and
yeah, like the aperture, yeah, for sure. And then it opens up, and it's like it's spotlighting and highlighting what's going on inside, and then it closes, and and it's kind of like when you were showing that piece where you could open the cabinet and then close the cabinet. It's similar to that, but it's like it's in the digital form, right?
I like to how should I say, first I like things that become visible with time. I don't want to give it all away right immediately. So with my paintings, of course, you can only do it when you have a little door to open and close it. And also there I add tons of little things that you discover with time. You don't see it right away. So with a digital, you can, of course, use these openings and closings and things going on top of each other. But I like to use these doors, and I also like to have a beginning and an end to my little clip, because when you do a how do you say, GIF or GIF?
Yeah, either way,
Uh,
that's another discussion.
it plays back without interruption. It's a perfect loop. But when you do a video file like an MP4, I don't know of a player that plays it back seamlessly. There is always like a tiny interruption. And when you do something that's supposed to loop perfectly and you have this interruption, it bothers you, particularly when you add sound. And that's why I, for the most part, make my animations. I like them when they play and replay, but there is always a beginning and an end so that you are not disturbed by this little interruption.
You know what, I feel you there, because I actually, when I made my art, when I
Mhm.
had time, I would constantly struggle with the opening and the ending of the loop, and then
Yeah.
that little glitch or
Yes,
that
yes.
little stutter, that would just really bother me.
It drives you out of your mind. I mean, you
Yeah.
make it perfect in your software that you're using for the animation. It plays back perfectly, and then you render it, and then you put it into a video player, and there's always this little pause.
uh,
I'm like, I give up.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's a great transition. So, I'd really love for you to show your new piece, because this piece is so cool, and it's going for sale for whale. So we're going to release it right after this, but
Mhm.
yeah, maybe you could take us a little bit about how maybe we want to play it first, and then you could kind of go into how you created it.
Okay,
How
play
does
it
that
first, you
sound?
said?
Yes, absolutely. Yep. Oh, that's so cool. And I love the music. So when I first saw this piece, I probably listened to it about 40 times in a row.
Hey, I should
Uh,
go into the music business.
you should. And we got to talk about that too, because you did your own music for this, right?
Well, your own music would be a bit far-fetched. I use GarageBand, and you have these sound clips. They're free to use, and you have to just find the right ones and arrange them in a way that you like. And sometimes I just put these files also into Audition, and I apply certain filters and change speed or whatever pitch, all of these things, and then in the end, it makes some kind of a soundtrack for my videos.
Absolutely. Yeah, it is a real challenge to produce and get the right music to a piece. I don't care if you're making an NFT, or you're making a video, or something, and I totally get you there. So you basically produce the music into it. Yeah, it does have that music box vibe, but like a cyber punk, or like a new wave. I don't know what genre we're looking at. Maybe someone from the audience can help me here, but it's got like a really futuristic, fresh feel to it. I really like it, and it goes
That's
along with the piece
exactly
perfect.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was looking for. As a basic concept, I like balance, but I like to balance opposites against each other. So, I think I just saw George Boyer say it has a music box feel, and that's the idea behind it. But it's I added this music. It still has a little tiny bit of this music box music in it, but together with this futuristic, cyberpunkish soundtrack, to like be completely opposite of the theme of the music box. So, and I did that in different aspects, not only in the music, also in the color scheme and all of these things. And I prepared a little bit of the making of, if you want to see it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, as you said earlier, a lot of my NFTs are based on my traditional art, on my physical art. And this is a piece, this is the drawing on glass that I used. It's also the base for another piece in the vault, not an animated piece, a still image. So I took this, and I spent a lot of time this year learning Blender. Most people are probably familiar with it, right? Blender is a free 3D software, but
Yes.
it is so capable. It has so much it can do, but the problem is you have to learn how to do it first.
That's so true.
and it's I've encountered it. I found it quite a few years ago, and I tried to get into it several times, and I always gave up. And this time I thought, well, I really want to know how to do this, and not just to throw some cubes and balls together, but to really know what I'm doing. So, and I wanted to bring this physical 2D art into 3D space. So, like here you can see, you see the relationship between these elements. When I, based on the drawing, these are the pieces created in 3D in Blender.
Now, Reinhard, when you said you had to learn this, now look at this. You look like a master to me.
Oh no! I see so many flaws in it now. But
oh, come on now.
And so you just create piece by piece, and there's this one person on YouTube. His channel is, I think it's Blender Bob, and he's not only extremely good, he's also very funny. So it's a lot of fun watching these videos, and he teaches you how to model, right? How to really not just make a model, but to do it right, so you can change it or adjust it and all of these things. And that was a personal challenge for me too, to be able to do it really the right way, have little bevels on the edges, and so the light bounces off of it in the right way, and to also apply the materials the right way and all these things. So this shows a point in time where I tried the first gold materials, but I found it like too traditional at this point. And in 3D space, the beauty is you can turn these things around and look at it from all different angles. And then when I had this machinery, I created the figure, the basic figure. I used a figure creation tool called Poser. But then I changed a lot of things. I added the hair and this flower, which is a very important part of the theme. I'll get to that later. I created this kind of a dress type of thing. And so this is where I put it all together. And this is like a first render where you apply a certain shader where you can really check the shapes and everything. And here I have the final lighting and material, and you can see it in the still image here. Actually, there's a little smackman here for those who haven't seen it.
Oh, wow. That's so cool.
That was another thing I did. I worked, I don't know, weeks on it to get my smackman into 3D. That's the figure alone. So different views of it. And then this was just like a mask. You can see it here, because the original idea was to make it a little bit like the whale watch, for those who know it. It's
yes.
It's actually a 2D piece it's like a clock with doors opening and everything. So the original idea was to do it like this, but then when I played with it, the figure looked too locked in, and I discarded this idea. And I thought I want her to like float free in space here like this, trying different ideas at this point. So yeah, it's I just wanted her with nothing obstructing the view, so to speak. Here you can see the little smackman a little better.
And I did not. I mean, this is so detailed. To me, I thought, this is like a real, like, I don't know, a clock piece or with gears and everything, and wow. I mean, I cannot believe the quality and the crispness of Blender. I mean, this is just unbelievable.
Thank you. And another thing, here we have this theme of not unveiling everything right away. I tried to find a light where at this point the machinery is sort of flat and you don't really see all the details. And only when it starts to move you see a lot of it. And okay, let's see. I think the next piece is just about the background. Here you can see the drawing that's the base for the dress. You see these little elements here I used for her dress. And I also used that for that cup-like thing on the bottom of the machinery. And it's also in the background. So I like to repeat a certain element in different context in one painting. So I used this for the background. I changed the color later. And this was like the final composition. I always take a still image and check it in Illustrator, and then I add these little things because I also like technical drawing. And here's my signature. And there's like a little code. It says Reinhard fits it. That's Latin, and hundreds of years ago, when for instance, those masons were working on a cathedral and building beautiful things, somewhere they wrote their name, and fits it. It means this person made this. So that's the secret behind this code, because people always ask me, "What's this code?" I said, "It just said Reinhard made this."
Oh wow. That's so cool. I like it's like your stamp, your signature. That's so cool.
And then here I check the colors. I try all different versions until I finally like it, and I wanted it to be really bold and very modern and contemporary, with this bright pinkish red against a very orangish gold tone. So yeah, and here when this machinery like moves down, you start seeing all the details that you don't see when it's up. So yeah, that's it.
Absolutely amazing. Let's now that we've seen all the different steps that you took, let's play it again just for fun, because
Okay.
it's so cool. Wow. And okay, so there's
Everything
a lot
moves at a different speed, but it's still supposed to be in harmony, even though it moves at different speeds.
Absolutely. I could tell, the quality and the time you took, because you got the soundtrack hitting at the right pace. You have everything moving at the right pace. Like you said, you're worried about that stutter on the looping, and you have like a beginning, a middle, and an end, and that feels really good. And then it kind of, it goes again, and the music, it doesn't like stutter, it just kind of, it goes with the piece. It keeps going, and you could keep it playing, and you could keep watching the animation and not say there's no end to this. It just keeps doing its thing. And I love when we talk about details, I mean, the screws are moving, The everything's moving
I can't
around the
believe you
screws.
saw that.
Oh yeah, I've seen this piece a lot. I mean, and even the bottom. So on the bottom right hand corner, there's movement there with
Yes.
the arrow. I love that. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
there's so much going on here, and I love that you can look at a piece, and that's what I think that's what sets your art, aside, and makes it special is because you could look at your pieces, and you could stare at them for a long time, and you could still see stuff and still see these intricacies, that and still be amazed by your work. So I think that's really cool, and I'm very excited about putting this piece up for sale. So we're going to put this up for
Thank you.
whale. It's going to be on the OpenSea store. We're going to post links to it very soon. But yeah, I mean, this is such a great piece, Reinhard. I mean, it's
Thanks a
fantastic,
lot. Thank you.
man. So with this, I mean, we've been talking for a pretty good chunk of time. There's so many questions here. I do want to get to the community because they're having a great time watching this and asking a bunch of good questions. So I'm going to put a few on the screen. So we're connected to the metaverse, I guess you could say, as it exists today. We're on YouTube and Twitch and Twitter.
All right.
So I'm going to try to piece some questions together from all three. We'll start with this one. This is very good. I'll pull this down for just a second. All right. And this one is from the Cryptori. What challenges have you surmounted in order to scan or photograph your glass art?
It's a good question because it is very challenging. With the drawings that I showed earlier, just the drawing alone, I often just put that in a scanner. But when the piece is too big, you can only scan a part at a time, and then you have to kind of stitch it together. Thank God Photoshop does a good job with that. And then the finished pieces, I have a setup with 2 studio flashes. So you have the light coming from the sides in a 45-degree angle, and then I take a photo so that you don't have any reflections or any shadows. And I also have like a black fabric behind me, so there is no reflections. Everything is covered. The camera is covered. The stand. I step away and use a remote. So yeah, it's a lot of setup to do and quite difficult.
Wow, it kind of makes sense because you are very technical, and you think of a lot of different things that most of us don't. When we're
Well, it's the reflections and just walk by a building and take a photo of the window. You don't see the window. You see everything that's reflected in the glass, and it's the same when you try to take a photo of a glass painting. You see everything that's in front of it, so you have to eliminate that somehow.
Oh man, that's so cool, and those are great tips for everyone watching. By the way,
Mm-hmm.
the next question here is from George Boya, who have you ever painted on bulletproof glass?
Great idea, by the way. No, I haven't. I have a table that is made from pane of bulletproof glass that came from a bank that was redone. But it's a good idea. I should try that. But it's also very heavy. You need a really big hook to hang a painting.
That would be cool. Okay, and this is a good one. What kind of paint do you actually use on the glass?
I use graphite pencil, watercolor, and acrylics and oil.
Wow, wow. So multiple mediums on that. That's
Yeah, I used to do it for many years, just watercolor, because it gives very beautiful effects, but it's super difficult. And that's why in recent years I work a lot with oil. You have much more control with what you're
oh
doing.
wow. Those are that I love hearing your tips because those are the kind of things that help us
It
starving artists.
only took me a few decades, to figure it out.
Oh man, and speaking of that, kind of goes into our next question. So, who are your artistic influences?
Oh God, too many to mention. It changes over time. When I was a very young artist, of course, all the surrealists, Max Ernst, and also early 20th century's art, particularly early 20th century Middle European art, Egon Schiele, George Grosz, all of those, and but of course all the surrealists, Paul Klee and Paul Wunderlich, Ernst Fuchs. I mean, most of these names probably tell you nothing. They're big here in Europe, and Dali is probably someone most of us know. So he was, of course, a big influence with my more surrealistic art. But the biggest was Max Ernst.
Man, I'm gonna check them out after this.
Max Ernst it's a funny story. He was very creative and invented a lot of things. And in World War II, he immigrated to the south of France, and he had no way to show his work. So the story goes that he hung his art in a tree, and Peggy Guggenheim happened to drive by and see that, and that's how it all began for him.
Oh, that's awesome. And I just the Cryptori, she just asked how do you spell it, but I'd said you'll come in and grace us in the Discord and give us a link or two.
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand.
We're trying to figure out how to spell the artist's name, so we could
Max Ernst.
Max Ernst. Okay.
Should I write it in? Can I write it in the comments here? No, I can't.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
I don't see where I could write it.
You could put it in the private
put
chat.
it in the chat. Okay.
Yeah, and I'll paste it for everybody. I love it.
Ernst, and then look for temptation. Of St. Anthony. I think that's. I don't know if I spelled it right. That's probably one of his most famous paintings, and I saw it at the age of 8, and that's when I decided that I wanted to create this type of art.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, good. Thank you. Thank you for putting that in the chat. Okay. Let's see. What advice would you give to people who want to become valued artists in both the physical and digital realms?
Oh God. From my experience, there is no formula for that. When you look at artists' stories, they all had their own path, and so many things have to come together for you to get to the point where your art is appreciated. For me, it was always very important to master my skills, because I think an important aspect of an artwork is the idea. And of course, an idea first, it has no shape or anything. I mean, how do you transport an idea? You have to find a way to tell it, to show it, whatever. So we have to translate it into a shape or sound, whatever, that someone else can perceive with their senses. And so for me, it has always been important to master the skills and the tools to do that, to get the idea into something that can be shared. So I mean, it sounds like something that's been said countless times, but I think just work, learn, create, and you know, when you create something, I see a lot of artists, they create their first piece and they're very eager to put it into an exhibition or something, which is understandable. I mean, you spent all this time and effort to create this and you want to show it to the world. But even with that, and I do it myself, put this thing aside for 2-3 weeks and then look at it again. And you will see that this first love for it has faded a little bit, and you look at it with a different eye, and then you improve. So, like I said, that's something that has always been important for myself to hone my skills, to improve the things I'm doing, and to just get better at it. And then, of course, you have to show it. And today, promotion over the internet is a very important aspect, which I'm not very good at. But if you're very good at promoting in social media, it's going to be very possible that the right people come across your work. And if you really put everything into it that you wanted to put into it, then you will find your audience. And you know, and that's how you will gain more appreciation, I think.
Yeah, those are fantastic tips, and honestly, you know, I see you coming across in your advice, right? Because you said you like to master the tools first. You know, I love the advice of just set it down, come back to it, see where you are, you know, in the future, you know, and what you might change because you're not thinking about it too much, and what you might bring to it after you've let it kind of simmer for a while. And then, you know, the promotion piece is definitely a thing that everyone struggles with. You know, some people are super good at it, others are not. But I think you do a great job, you know, getting your work out there, and you know, and honestly, your work kind of speaks for itself. So,
Well, that's what the artists always, you know, most artists like this idea, you know, the work should speak for itself, but in today's world, it unfortunately it doesn't. You know, it can speak as loud as it wants if you don't put it there on the right channels, and if you don't have the followers, it's not gonna be heard.
That's right. That's right. And that really speaks true for the you know, the digital world and the digital world. I mean, I think you nailed it there. But you know what I mean is when you get to the point where, I mean, you've developed these followers and these interested parties of your pieces. You know, then your work starts speaking for itself. But I think you're right on I really do think you're right on getting started is really tough, and getting your name out there is part of it for sure. Yeah. Let's see. Do you ever, okay, this is one we can't put on the screen, but do you ever play with the angles and depths of your work so that it's different point of views or different light sources, directions that kind of reveal additional details?
Is that in digital or in physical work? When you create a painting, for instance, you know, and say you have a figure in there, of course you play with lights and angles and things, and I frequently work with models, and they come to my studio, and we take photos, and with the setup of the studio flashes and everything, you have good control over the lighting, and then of course you have the model pose in different ways, and it frequently happens that I have an idea for a painting, and we do a photo shooting just to get some reference photos. I realize that, for instance, a certain position isn't possible. I'd say, well, hold your arm a certain way, but it can't be done that way with having the hand moving in a different direction at the same time. So I have to adjust the idea, and sometimes you get new ideas while you do that. And even, when you put all the pieces together, and it's a constant process of planning and rearranging until the whole layout is determined, and then I start working on the piece. And when all this previous work is done, I usually have a very, very finished concept. So once I go on my glass or on my canvas, there aren't that many changes. On canvas, it's much easier to change. On glass, it's very difficult because as long as you're drawing, okay, you can scratch away the pencil or erase it. But once you put some colors down, it's hard to do because whatever you put down first is later closest to the viewer. So I'm working backwards. When you do an oil painting on canvas, for instance, you're building it up from the back to the front. But on a reverse glass painting, you do it the other way around. And very soon it actually becomes impossible to make any changes without destroying it. And so you have to be like sort of like a chess player. You have to plan, what is this layer going to look like when I put this on, and then I turn it around, what is it going to look like? So in answer to the question, in the first stage, I do a lot of changes and I try a lot of different things, and I rearrange a lot of things. But once that is decided, it's I usually just finish that concept as it is, except for maybe the colors. I change those sometimes.
Man, that your insight is just so valuable, and I'm really glad. No, I'm not kidding. I'm really glad you're sharing it, because honestly, this is the type of stuff that, artists are all over the place. They look for this type of advice, and I think with your experience again, it's and the detail you put into everything, from start to finish, frames. Glass. I mean, come on, you paint on glass. Come on, you got to be so detailed for that, and it's so cool to hear you talk about it. So I'm really glad you shared all of this, and I know the community was really excited about it.
I've been to the point where I've been so frustrated, and it was so funny. I had a conversation with I don't know how to pronounce it correctly. Arsenic Lullaby.
Yeah, arsenic. Yes.
And he shared a digital piece with me, and he said, well, he wasn't sure if he should use this version or another, and he was just to the point that he just hated it. And I said, well, I'm so familiar with this feeling, when I do these large oil paintings, and then you have a firm deadline. It has to be finished to be in the catalog for the show at a certain date, and you're struggling and you just can't get it right. And I'm like, to the point, oh God, I'm gonna call a colleague, he should finish it for me. So we're all learning, we're all struggling, it's not, when you see the finished piece and it turned out the way you wanted it to be, fine, but it's a hard and long way to get there.
Man, that is
also for me. It doesn't paint itself.
Right, and that's sage advice. That's such sage advice. So thank you, Reinhard, for sharing all of those things and your work and catching up with us. I mean, it's fantastic. There's some good news. So your piece on OpenSea has sold out. So we're very excited about that.
Who bought it?
Let's see. It is Fat Cat that actually bought the piece, PHAT. So I don't know if it's a returning collector of yours or somebody who.
Maybe when I see it, I recognize the name. And now I'm too nervous. I can't think.
I'm so excited for you, but
I'm so excited too. Yes, I feel so privileged to be part of all of this, and I'm so thankful that you're having me and all the kind compliments I'm getting. So it's I'm very, very thankful to all of you.
To be honest, the value is all ours because we get to sit and we get to pick your brain and we get to see what you do, and we get to learn a lot, and that's really the true value is just getting to talk with you. So yeah, like I said, I'm a big fan, and when I talk, I usually fanboy out. So sorry about that, but before we go, you did say you had some new stuff coming up. Maybe on Maker's Place or another platform. Do you want to just tell everybody about it before we go?
If I may, yes. I just had a feature on Wednesday on Maker's Place. Let me see.
I'm going to put your screen up for a second. And those of you who just...
Oops, that's the one piece that I made that I was talking about earlier.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Now it's screwed up. Sorry for that. I made that for the owners. I just minted it and sent it to them, to have it in addition to their original.
Oh, that's so cool that you made a physical piece and then you made an NFT too. That's man, you're like in the future.
Actually, I wanted to do that more, to add a physical piece to the digital and vice versa. And okay, now my screen is gone. Can you see it now?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so this is a page where, what you see now is a self-portrait of mine. And here are a lot of my digitals. And on Maker's Place, this is like a featured collection that was unveiled on Wednesday. And these are, when I said I created my Smackman in 3D, I also made these wireframe versions of it. And a little while ago, I had asked on Twitter, oops, sorry for, how do I turn it off? Oops, okay, sorry for the screw up. I'm screwing up even more.
Oh, you're perfectly fine. George is excited.
Okay, now this one again. So I asked people, what do you think is inside Smackman's head? And there was a variety of answers, and one of them was, of course, machine parts and naked women. So you want to see? So that's my newest piece. That was Smackman's brain.
Oh, that's so cool.
So, like I said, the element of timing is very important for me, and with the sound, it was a personal challenge to really, make all these little sounds pop in at the right moment. And when you just watch this piece, or take Aurelie, for instance, you just watch it without the sound, it's not the same.
Absolutely. So, those of you who missed out on the For Sale for Whale piece, go check out Reinhard on Maker's Place. Honestly, great pieces on there, and you just released that new series, so you still have a chance to grab something really cool from Reinhard. And please, keep watch. He's always putting out some new things that are just unbelievably cool. So.
Thank you.
Go check it out. And Reinhard, with that, I'm going to cut us. It's fantastic. I mean, always. And I'm so glad that you came and spent the time with us.
It was such a pleasure talking with you and telling these things to everyone here. Thank you for coming here and watching and listening. hope it wasn't too boring. So again, thanks a lot for everything, for having me, for featuring me, and for all the appreciation. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, and not boring at all. The community had a great time. So you're gonna have to come on again. Maybe when we do the next Arctic Well with you in the distant future. It's going to be fantastic. So we always love catching up with you.
Thank you, with pleasure.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, and with that, thanks everyone for tuning in, and we appreciate it. And we'll see you for Arctic Well next month. So see you then.
Thanks a lot. Bye bye.